Confidence, it's a huge conversation. How do we create confidence within ourselves and overcome our own insecurity? Today's conversation is a throwback with confidence expert Heather Monahan. Okay, for the few people who don't know who you are, can you tell us a little bit about why you're so passionate about this topic of confidence?
Yeah. So I'm 45 years old, and my whole track record in business and in corporate America was in sales and sales leadership. I had grown up poor, and my whole life I chased a paycheck, and I did very well monetarily and reached the C-suite. I was a chief revenue officer responsible for hundreds of millions of dollars, thousands of employees, and appeared on the outside to be confident. Everyone really thought I was. It looked like on paper I had made it. What was interesting, though, is that now that I look back, and hindsight is so fantastic, I had grown up without confidence, and I didn't really have direction to understand that you could create confidence. It wasn't something you had to be given. And I just assumed some people had it and people like me just didn't. So for me, I had gone through life that way, doubting myself, trying to act like different people. When people would tell me not to wear dresses at work, I'd start wearing pantsuits, wear my hair up in a ponytail to look more professional. I was always trying to fit into somebody else's box instead of just rocking my own. And it really wasn't until I started stepping into my power, figuring out that when I showed up as the most confident version of me, that looks differently for everybody, but when I showed up as that real me, that real confident, powerful me, great things started happening. And a lot of that really came to fruition when I was fired from the C-suite 2 years ago after being named one of the most, I'm trying to think what it was. It was like the most, I don't know, biggest voice in radio or something in media. I got some big award. And a month later, I was fired. And that was a really low moment. However, that pivotal moment allowed me to rebuild my confidence in a very authentic way, a way that's sustainable, that I now know how to build back up again anytime I get knocked down. Thank you very much, coronavirus. You knocked me down. I'm back. Took me 2 weeks. But, I've learned that it can be cyclical, your confidence. It can be affected by things happening around you. But as long as you have a strategy in place and a blueprint for you that works for you, you can rebuild that confidence anytime and then start showing up as your most powerful, confident self and write your own book, launch your own podcast, become a public speaker, and do whatever you want to do.
Yeah. I heard you say before that you can be successful without being confident, because looking at what you were able to create in your corporate career, saying that, hey, I really didn't have that kind of confidence that I needed. And it wasn't until I was fired that I found it. People might be surprised. They'd be like, whoa, well, don't you have to have confidence to be able to build what you built?
No, you absolutely don't. I was incredibly successful my entire career. I mean, from the word go, I got into sales right out of college. However, again, I look back now, I had been in sales since I was 9 years old. I had a paper route, and then I bussed tables, and then I was, a waitress, and then I worked at fast food restaurants, and then I was a bartender. I had 20 years experience in the service industry before I really got into a sales role. So I knew how to take care of people, how to connect with others. And I applied those real life experiences and essentially expertise into my career. And I became the top salesperson at the Gallo Winery the first year that I was there. I was an equity partner in a group of radio stations in my early 20s and took a $25 million property and turned it into a $55 million property in under 3 years. I doubled the last company's revenue that I was at from 100 million to in excess of 200 million during my tenure. So I had massive success in business, but during those times, and I look back and it's crystal clear, I wasn't confident in me. Now, that doesn't mean I wasn't confident in my ability to sell, my ability to lead sales teams. I was, but I wasn't really confident in that holistic entity of yourself. You can be confident at the gym and be really good at working out, or you can be confident when you're podcasting and when you're interviewing someone else, but maybe you're not confident in your relationships. There's these insecure moments can creep into different parts of your life. And for me, I had never had a time in my life where I felt, holistically all the way around confident.
Yeah. Well, I mean, why does that matter? So you're getting the results, you're living a good life, you're getting to accomplish things and et cetera, et cetera. Why does it even matter? If it's working, why try to fix it?
Oh my gosh, this is so important. So I had a villain in my life that I tried to ignore because she was my peer. She was the CFO. I was the CRO. She was always looking to cut expenses. I was always looking to spend money on my clients and my employees. So we were at, different perspectives in the business. And she was always trying to sabotage me, always trying to put me down. And because I wasn't that really powerful, confident person like I am today, because I even get annoyed explaining the story to you because I can't believe I let this woman get away with this BS. But so she would always be playing her games, passive aggressive games. And it's like Chinese water torture. Over time, it was really chipping away at me. But when you're the one living it and you're the one allowing for it and turning the blind eye to it, you don't notice that you're slowly becoming a more watered down version of yourself. And I essentially became a B-rate version of me, and then my health started suffering. It was like there was a domino effect around it. My personal relationships started suffering. I wasn't feeling as good. And it really got out of control, but it all started from that epicenter, which was I wasn't confident to begin with. I wasn't listening to myself to begin with.
Where do you think that comes from? I mean, is it a situational thing? Like you mentioned earlier that you grew up poor and, we all have our things, whatever it may be. Do you think it's like our situations that make us not confident? Are we all just not confident and have to learn? Like where for you personally, where did that, maybe insecurity come from?
Yeah, I think a couple things. One, I didn't have a great childhood and I felt very ashamed of who I was and how I grew up. So I was always trying to not be the real me. I didn't want people to know sometimes we use food stamps. I didn't want people to know that I felt embarrassed. That made me feel sick to my stomach. So when you're ashamed of something, that shame owns you and that really crushes your confidence. I didn't have anyone explaining to me back then these things. So I just didn't have the knowledge. Knowledge is really powerful. And when you're able to start learning and speaking to people that have experience with things like this, you can start understanding, oh, it's not just me. And oh, I guess it is okay that I grew up poor. And that when I try to hide from it, I make it worse for myself. Oh, wait a minute. Shining a light on the shame actually allows me to take power over it. Didn't know that one. But when you start flipping things around and making it go to work for you, everything starts changing.
So how did you come to like this conclusion? Like maybe I had shame in my past and I need to shine a light on it and avoid it. Like that's a pretty heavy realization. And it's really hard to, I don't know, look at something that maybe we've covered up for years and years and years. So what was like kind of that aha moment for you and how did you start working through that?
When I wrote my book, I'll tell you, I decided that I started just writing. And at first I was just writing about the woman that I hated and, how awful she was to work with and all the things she did. But then I started asking myself, have I ever felt like this way that I'm feeling now before? And I started remembering, like when I was a little kid, or when I got arrested, or when I got divorced. There were all similarities, a little different in each time, but there were similarities in themes. And I started realizing those were the low moments for my confidence in any of these challenging situations. I really was at the bottom. And when I was able to put that together, I started looking at all of these different examples of challenges that I had. And the more I looked into it, I thought, I can't just write about this one situation in corporate America. I need to write about all of them if I'm going to write this book. And it was really scary. So that was the moment I decided I had so much shame about my own personal history, my own personal choices, where I came from. And I decided I wouldn't be the confident me if I didn't include those. If I didn't own all of them, I wasn't. I was selling a bad bill of goods then, right? So writing that book was what taught me. I've been hanging on to a lot of shame my whole life. And ripping off the Band-Aid and throwing it in the book and putting it out to the world was the fastest way to turn it around and make it work for me.
And the aftermath of that, what's that been like? I'm so grateful you're having this conversation because our listeners, unconventional leaders, they come from difficult backgrounds. And so they're building something from the ground up. And there's sometimes like this perceived idea of like, oh, if I share my story, if I, really deal with some of this stuff, be fully out there and real with who I really am. Sometimes we have these scenarios in our head of what that might look like. The aftermath of it, you putting your story out there, writing this book and all of that. How does that feel? I mean, what's the response you've gotten?
The response is amazing. And it's so rewarding because I have a chapter in my book called aikagi, which is it's a Chinese word, which essentially means when you take something that you're good at, where you add value and are able to deliver a service or a good that helps others, your passion in life, plus you get paid for it. When you marry all those things together, it's like this blissful moment finding what you're really meant to do. And everyone has that opportunity to do it. So the feedback from me when I started saying, I'm selling a product, I'm making money, and I'm getting DMs and emails from people telling me how it's benefiting their life and changing their life, that was that epiphany moment to say, I'm where I'm supposed to be.
I love that. And I want to dig into like how we can become confident in this kind of last half of our conversation. I was curious, do you see people as either confident or not, or is it a continuum, or are we kind of always struggling with insecurity? Like, what is your perception on that?
You know, I can only speak to myself, right? And really my son, because that's who I live with. And unless you live with somebody and observe them all the time, you don't know, right? I mean, people used to see me out and about and think I was so confident, and I wasn't. So I try not to judge others and just imagine who knows what they're struggling with. But what I will say, I'm a very confident person now. My son is a very confident person, yet we both have low moments still. You know, when coronavirus happened, there was a couple days I started questioning everything. I started questioning my health, and what if I'm not healthy enough? What if I haven't, doubt started creeping in because I couldn't control things. I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't have knowledge. And it got scary, and I was really down. And luckily I had 2 days where I was crying and I was scared and sad. And luckily having another person who's confident and has perspective outside of yours around is very helpful, because my son was able to say, hey, Mom, you've gone through really hard things before. This is hard, but we can do it together. And having someone help shed that positivity and remind you of what you're capable of allows you to reconnect with, okay, yeah, this isn't the end of the world. And just because the future's uncertain doesn't mean it's going to be negative. When you know something's uncertain, that means the possibilities are endless. That means tomorrow could be the greatest. We could get a solution for the virus tomorrow. I'm excited to get up every day because of that. And so it's changing the way that you look at it.
Yeah. So how do we become confident then, Heather? Tell us. I know that's a big topic, and we're going to talk about where people can find your podcast and your books. I know this is a huge conversation, but what are some are there daily practices? Do we exercise confidence? How do we know if we're not confident? I mean, help us out here.
Yeah, one of the things that I would suggest right now, and I just thought of this the other day, everyone's washing your hands, and you need to wash your hands for a minimum of 20 seconds. And they're saying, sing happy birthday 3 times while you wash your hands. No. Instead, write out a list of affirmations the way you want to speak to yourself. Okay. So let's say it's for me. I'm just going to use mine. I am powerful. I am smart. I am kind. I am successful. All of your I am statements and even if you're not there yet, let me tell you something. I was in media and advertising for 25 years. If you repeat something 7 times a day, you are going to begin believing it. It will be in your subconscious. This is why advertising works. Okay. So you're putting an ad campaign together for you now during the coronavirus. Every time you wash your hands, instead of singing happy birthday, you sing your affirmations to you. And that frequency, that will make sure you at least wash your hands 7 times a day, right? And that you're repeating your affirmations in a very disciplined way for at least a month, because I'm sure we'll be here for at least 1 more month. I guarantee that one step alone will help boost everyone's confidence.
I love that. How do we know if it's working, if we're becoming more confident or not? Are there signs of a confident person and not? I know you can only answer that for yourself, but how do you know when you're operating in confidence and when you're not?
When I feel fearful and I go forward. For me, fear is now a green light that means go. It used to be fear was assigned to red light, stop, turn back, go home, get safe. And I was just talking to someone about this today. Truly successful people move forward when they're afraid and don't have all the answers, because they trust in themselves that they will figure it out. And that's what I'm doing today with my business. That's what I'm doing now, parenting and homeschooling, as you know. I don't know about any of this stuff. I don't know about this whole new world and new economy we live in, but I'm going to take chances and bet on me. I'm going to double down on me and go all in. Some of them are going to fail, and that's going to be okay, because I'll learn, adjust, and pivot, and I will come out on top.
Ooh, I have a church. I didn't know we were going to have church today. This is so good. I was wondering too, you spend all this time in this career you're successful in, you're comfortable in, and then going away from it. And I know that you said that you entertained the thought of getting another job in the same space, but going into another space, starting your own thing, you really had to kind of go back to like almost a beginner state where you're learning things, and the humility that must have took for you to be a professional woman who knows what to do, and then say, hey, I don't know, and start from the very beginning. I applaud you for that. I think that's so badass, but also too wanted to kind of dig into like, you would talk about testing of your confidence, you know what I mean? And like as a leader and us wanting to blaze our own trail and do our own thing, dude, it's very like humbling experience as well.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you just nailed it. So back in corporate America, I had multiple assistants. I had teams of people. If I had a computer problem that I just dialed and they, somebody booked my travel and took care of my expenses. And I'll tell you this much too. In corporate America, when you make it to the top, your job is easier than when you're starting out in a rookie, because you are doing the grunt work and it's hard, right? So for me, going from that setup to working for myself, and I became my own IT person, and I became my own personal assistant, and I became the cold caller for sales, and I was everything, and I had no experience. I didn't know about writing what do I know about writing a book? I was the social one and the sales one. So, there was all this doubt. Everything I was doing every day, I was scared and doubting myself. But whenever I would have a moment to say, what the hell are you doing? Maybe you should go back. I would stop and say, would you rather live another 10 years like you did before over here in this familiar zone where I was good at what I did, made everyone a lot of money, but I wasn't energized. I wasn't getting amazing messages. I wasn't living to my potential. Fast forward to over here, I'm constantly scared. I'm constantly falling. I'm embarrassed. I didn't know what to charge when someone said to me, what's your speaker fee? I have no freaking idea. I have not known so many things along the way. But what I started realizing was I used to be like that as a salesperson first. And then I was like that when I first became a sales manager. Then when I became a VP of sales, I was the same way. And I started thinking, that's how it all has to start somewhere. And you know what? Maybe it would have been better if I started 10 years ago. I didn't. So the next best time is now, right now.
I love that. I love that. Now you've connected with some complete superstars in our industry, famous people for us, personal development, entrepreneurship. It's insane. And I was wondering, prior to all this, did you know who these people were? Gary Vaynerchuk and Jesse Itzler and all that. Were you in that circle, or is this like brand new circle to you?
Oh my God, no, it's so weird. Now I got a DM from Jesse Itzler the other day, like sending me some funny note. It's so, hey, how are you doing, Heather? Are you okay? Are you safe? It's awesome. So bizarre. Oh, these guys are so nice. It's so bizarre and crazy and mind blowing to me. When I was in corporate America, I knew who Tony Robbins was. Like I knew the biggest of the bigs, but I didn't know everybody the way that I'm familiar now. But like anything, if you're going to want to succeed, you need to go all in and immerse yourself. And one of the fastest ways to advance is start exposing yourself to content around, even if it's just following someone on social, someone that's where you want to be, right? So I started learning about Gary Vaynerchuk, and I started DMing him for a couple of years. This went on. I didn't hear back from him, or I'd hear back and he blew me off. And, it's all been a process. It didn't happen overnight. However, sometimes it does just happen overnight. The Jesse Itzler is such a great example. I got connected to his business partner and offered him an idea to help them make some money, just to be helpful. And he said, okay, I'll get you a meeting with him. We got on a Zoom call because he didn't want to meet me in person, which killed me, because if you really want to start creating partnerships and friendships, you need to be face to face. And his Zoom went down while we were on the call. And I sent a text over to his assistant and said, just tell him I'll jump on the next flight. And he said, if you're really that crazy, go ahead. And so that's how we were able to form, a friendship and get to know each other. And it's just been so amazing to immerse myself in this new world over the last 2 years and get the opportunity to meet these fantastic people. It's been great.
Is growth similar from like when you were in your corporate media to where you're at right now with entrepreneurs and the kind of self-help media people? Like, is it very similar roads as far as growth is concerned, or is it completely different?
No, I've grown more in the past 2 years than I did in the last 20 when I was in corporate America. Truly, I was on a very clear, well-defined path. The path I run in now isn't defined. I'm constantly trying to reinvent it and change it. And quarantine feeds right into this. Okay, how can I pivot my in-person speaking business to something exceptional and different and an experience online? I haven't figured it out yet, but every day I get up taking a shot at trying to figure out what does that look like and staying committed to that vision that I am going to find the best solution so I can continue to charge a very high amount and deliver value in a unique and different way that other people aren't.
That is it. It has flown by so fast, Heather. Time is already up. I have one final question for you. But first of all, thank you so much for taking the time out of your crazy busy schedule. I know everybody wants to talk to you and have you on their show and stuff. So taking the time to be with us means so much to me. And also too, for your work around this topic, because it's the one thing that keeps so many amazing leaders back from the impact that they could make is this self-confidence and shame too. That speaks to my soul. I can relate to that a lot. And people like you who are doing this work, the impact you're going to make, you're never really fully going to know. So thank you for your work. Where can people connect with you, learn more about confidence?
Yeah, so I have a free accountability partner program on my website. Sign up for that. And I've got a free ebook on confidence. You can go there. There's no money involved. HeatherMonahan.com. If you are interested in, I have a coaching program for May and June that I'm working directly with people via Zoom since I'm home for the first time ever. And so you can, they have DriftBot, which is essentially my head on the website. And you can just send a note in there that you're interested in learning more, and I'll send you the information. I've got my podcast, Creating Confidence with Heather Monahan, which I'd love for you to check out, and my book, Confidence Creator, and my online video course, all at my website.
Ooh, all right. All of that will be linked in the show notes. Very last question. Let's say we were to go back in time to young Heather, pre this corporate career and climbing the ladder and then getting off the ladder and then building all of this. She had no idea what was about to take place in her life. And she had no idea probably that she was struggling with this deep-rooted confidence that she'd have to address much, much later. If you were to go and sit with that young woman and tell her one thing that you understand now that she did not understand back then, what would that be?
Have faith in yourself and listen to your voice and your opinion over everyone else's, because you are the one that will always have the answer.
Boom. Heather, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
That's it. That's it. Awesome. Awesome. So good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Of course. And I'll send you this audio too, just in case you need it. But I don't think we had any problems. It seemed pretty good on my end.
Well, what it's been, when you get done with a call, you know how it renders.
Yeah.
I book back-to-back calls like I'm sure you do as well. And usually in normal life, when you do that, it might render later and it's fine. But what it's doing is it's catching where it doesn't end up rendering at all. So if you have back-to-back calls without it fully rendering, it can screw it up. So just be mindful of that. I don't want you to lose any interviews. So when it renders out fully and all that, I'll know. But hopefully they'll get that fixed soon.
I hope so.
Yeah, I've been using Zoom for 3 years doing this, and I've never had a problem. Almost 300 interviews now. And the first one happened last week, and I was like, oh my God. And then I had a couple podcasting friends say the same thing. So we're all backing up stuff as much as we can.
Well, thank you for telling me that. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, life's crazy. You never know. We may meet in person one time.
I would love that.
You never know. Life's so crazy. But thanks so much
for
joining us.
Where do you live?
Augusta, Georgia.
Oh my gosh, I used to have radio stations there. That's so crazy.
The Masters, yeah. So if you ever come down to the Masters, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've been there a bunch of times. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful out there.
It is, and it's been our city, our entire income is the Masters, so it closing down was huge for businesses here. Luckily they scheduled it for November, so we'll have like a Thanksgiving Masters. But
oh, great. That's good news. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. Well, it was nice meeting you, Heather. Take care. Have a great weekend.
Great meeting you. Okay, you too. Thank you.